The moment you decide to walk away is the moment you reclaim your power. See, most people think the way to win is to play the same game. He manipulates, so you manipulate back. He ignores you, so you ignore him harder. He makes you jealous, so you find a way to make him jealous. But do you see what's happening here? The moment you engage, you're already losing. Because when you play his game, you're still playing by his rules. The real way to win? Step off the field. Stop playing entirely. Walking away isn't about proving a point to him. It's about proving a point to yourself. It's about saying, I refuse to be part of something that diminishes me. Because every time you let him pull you back in, you reinforce the idea that he still has control, that he still gets to dictate your emotions. But the moment you detach, the moment you say, this is no longer where I invest my energy, he loses his grip on you. And make no mistake, he will feel it. He will notice when the person who once jumped at his texts suddenly takes hours to respond, if at all. He will notice when the woman who once overanalyzed every word he said suddenly doesn't care to decode his mixed signals. He will notice when you stop fighting for his attention. Because the truth is, people who play games thrive on one thing: your reaction. When you stop giving it to them, they start to panic. At first, he might try harder. He might send a, hey, miss you text, just to see if he can still reel you in. He might post something that feels like it's meant for you, just to see if you'll bite. He might suddenly act like he's changed, promising the things you always wanted. But understand this, it's not because he suddenly realized your worth. It's because he's realized he's losing control. That's when you have to stand firm. Because the moment you give in, the cycle starts all over again. He wins the moment you let him pull you back in, only to disappoint you again. So you hold the line. You remind yourself that walking away wasn't a tactic to get him to change. It was a declaration that you deserve more, whether he changes or not. And here's what happens next. As you walk away, something shifts in you. At first, it feels unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable, because for so long, you were conditioned to fight for his attention. But as time passes, you start to feel lighter. You start to see how much space he was taking up in your mind, how much energy was spent trying to make something work that was never supposed to. And in that space, something new grows: confidence, clarity, self-respect. Then one day, you wake up and realize you haven't thought about him in days. And when you do, it's not with anger or longing, it's with indifference. That's the real win, because the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And that's when you'll know you've truly walked away. You see, he thought you would always be there. He thought he could string you along, keep you as an option, play his little games, and you'd always come running back. But now he's left standing in the same place, playing the same game, with no one to play against. And trust me, he will feel that void. So when he realizes what he lost, don't be surprised if he tries to come back. But by then you'll have outgrown him. You'll see him for what he is, just another guy who mistook your kindness for weakness, who thought your patience was permission to keep taking. But now you know better. And that's why you'll keep walking, because the power wasn't in making him suffer. The power was in showing yourself that you never needed to suffer for him in the first place. We often find ourselves stuck in this loop of wondering when karma will catch up to someone who played us, who treated us like an option, who strung us along like we were nothing more than a temporary thrill. But here's the thing, karma isn't something you need to sit around waiting for. You don't need to wish for their downfall. You don't need to plot your own version of revenge, and you certainly don't need to waste another second thinking about how life will eventually teach them a lesson. Because the moment you shift your focus from them to you, everything changes. When someone plays games with you, it's because they believe they hold all the power. They think they can manipulate your emotions, disappear and reappear at their convenience, and you'll just keep coming back. And let's be honest, maybe you did for a while. Maybe you excused their behavior, justified their mixed signals, told yourself they were just confused, or that you could be the one to change them. But deep down you knew. You knew they weren't valuing you the way you deserved. You knew something was off, and yet you stayed. Not because you were weak, but because you believed in their potential more than you believed in your own worth. Now let's flip the script. The second you step out of that cycle, the second you remove yourself from their game board, they start to lose. Not in a dramatic Hollywood movie, watch me walk away in slow motion while you suffer kind of way, but in a much more profound, much more real way. Because people who play games aren't looking for love, they're looking for control. And when you take that control away, when you refuse to participate in their chaos, they are left with nothing. They don't get the satisfaction of knowing you're still thinking about them. They don't get to feed off your emotions. They don't get to keep you as a backup option while they explore other distractions. Suddenly the game isn't fun for them anymore. And that's when karma starts to work its magic. You see, people always think of karma as this force that will one day swoop in and make someone pay for their mistakes. But karma is a lot more immediate than that. Karma happens the moment they realize you're no longer available for their nonsense. It happens when they reach for you, expecting the same reaction, and are met with silence. It happens when they come back with the same sweet words, the same empty promises, and find out that you're no longer listening. That's karma. That's the moment they feel the loss, not because something external happened to them, but because they no longer have access to you. And here's the most important part. While they are realizing what they lost, you're growing. You're moving forward, evolving into someone so secure, so powerful, that their old games wouldn't even faze you anymore. You're leveling up in a way that makes you completely untouchable to them. Because when you heal, when you focus on your own life instead of theirs, you radiate a different kind of energy, an energy that people who play games can't handle. They thrive on insecurity. They thrive on doubt. They thrive on your need for their validation. But when you step into a space where you validate yourself, where you don't need them to feel whole, they become irrelevant. And that's when they truly suffer. One day they'll look back. Maybe they'll see you with someone who treats you right, someone who doesn't make you question your worth. Maybe they'll notice the way you carry yourself now, the way you smile, the way you no longer have that sadness in your eyes that they once caused. Maybe they'll try to come back, testing the waters, seeing if they still have a chance. And that's when you'll realize that the tables have completely turned. You won't need to be cruel. You won't need to seek revenge, because the moment you became indifferent to them, they lost. That's how karma really works. Not by you waiting for their world to crumble, but by you making the conscious decision to build yours so strong that they no longer have a place in it. He played games because he knew exactly how to keep you hooked. He knew how to push just enough to keep you chasing, but never enough to give you what you truly wanted. It was a constant cycle of highs and lows, moments where he made you feel like you were the only person in the world, followed by times where he made you question if you even mattered. That's the game. And the truth is, as long as you keep playing, he keeps winning. But here's what changes everything. You don't play anymore. Not because you're trying to beat him at his own game, not because you want to make him suffer, but because you've changed the rules entirely. You're stepping off his board and creating a new one. One where you don't need his validation, his attention, or his mixed signals to feel worthy. The second you decide that his games are no longer entertaining, they lose their grip on you. And when that happens, he feels it. See, people like this thrive on the idea that they have control. They manipulate because it gives them power. They keep you close enough to maintain control, but distant enough so you never feel secure. They make you crave certainty, and in doing so, they make you dependent on them for it. But the moment you decide you no longer need their approval, their affection, or even their presence, the entire dynamic. Suddenly, they're the ones left wondering. They're the ones who don't understand what changed. And this is the part that truly unsettles them, when they realize you are no longer reacting the way you used to. He expects you to send that message when he pulls away. He expects you to ask what's wrong when he suddenly starts acting cold. He expects you to fight for his attention when he stops giving it freely. But when you don't, when you simply let it go and move forward without hesitation, he feels a loss that he never anticipated. Because up until now, he was in control. Up until now, he dictated the pace, the emotions, the tension, but now he's lost that power. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you stop playing, you realize how much of your energy was wasted in a game that never had a real prize. You start to see how much space he took up in your mind, how many moments of your day were spent trying to decode his actions, analyze his words, predict his next move, and for what? A temporary hit of validation when he finally gave you attention again? That's not love. That's addiction. That's craving something that was designed to keep you needing more. And the moment you stop craving it, the moment you step away and reclaim your power, you become free. And do you know what happens when you do that? He starts to feel it. He starts to notice the absence of your effort, the void left by your attention. The same way you used to wonder if he cared, now he's wondering about you. He's checking to see if you've called. He's noticing that you haven't reached out. He's questioning why you're not affected the way you used to be. And that feeling, that sinking realization that he's lost something valuable is what makes him suffer. Because here's the thing, when someone plays games, it's never just about the fun of it. It's about the need to feel in control. When he can make you react, he feels important. When he can make you jealous, he feels desired. When he can make you doubt yourself, he feels powerful. But when he can no longer do that, when you stop giving him the satisfaction of your reaction, that's when his own insecurities start creeping in. That's when he's forced to sit with the reality that maybe, just maybe, he was never as important to you as he thought. And this is where everything shifts. Because now, you're no longer the person trying to hold on to someone who never fully valued you. Now, you're the one walking away with your dignity intact, your confidence restored, and your self-worth unshaken. You're not proving a point, you're not playing mind games of your own. You're simply choosing a different path, one where you don't entertain someone who only values you when it's convenient for them. The beauty of this transformation is that it's not about revenge, it's not about making him suffer, it's about prioritizing yourself so much that he becomes irrelevant to your happiness. And when that happens, he suffers on his own, not because you intended it, but because he realizes he can no longer affect you the way he once did. And for someone who thrives on control, nothing is more unsettling than losing it. So let him wonder, let him feel the absence of your energy, let him sit with the discomfort of knowing that the game is over, not because he won, but because you stopped playing. And in that moment, he'll finally understand what it means to lose something truly valuable. The best payback isn't about getting even. It's not about making him feel what you felt or proving a point. The best payback is when you live so unbothered that he becomes irrelevant. Because here's the truth. People who play games, who manipulate, who test your patience and take you for granted, they thrive on your reactions. They want to know they still have a hold over you. They want to see you hurt, to see you chasing, to know that they still matter. And when you cut off that supply, when you remove yourself from the chaos they create, that's when the real shift happens. That's when they start to feel the loss. You see, he expected you to stay angry. He expected you to cry over him, to stalk his social media, to overanalyze every move he makes. Maybe he even expected you to try and make him jealous, posting things just to get a reaction. But here's the thing. You don't need to prove anything to him. The moment you decide that his games aren't worth your energy, you take back your power. The moment you stop participating, you win. Because the reality is, he didn't just lose you. He lost access to someone who genuinely cared, who showed up with real love, who was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt despite his behavior. And that's not something he's going to find just anywhere. The mistake most people make after being played is thinking that the best revenge is making him jealous, showing him that you've moved on before he has, proving that you're happier without him. But all of that still revolves around him. And as long as your actions are rooted in trying to get a reaction, he's still in control. Real freedom happens when you no longer care what he thinks, when his opinions no longer dictate your self-worth, when you wake up and realize that the person you're trying to impress is actually not someone you would ever want back in your life. That's the moment everything shifts. There will come a day when he looks back and realizes what he lost, not because you tried to make him see it, but because time has a funny way of revealing the truth. When he's with someone else who doesn't tolerate his games, who doesn't care enough to be affected by them, or worse, someone who plays him the way he played you, that's when he'll feel the weight of his choices. And by then, you won't even be thinking about him. You'll be so busy living your life, growing, evolving, and surrounding yourself with people who actually value you, that his realization won't even matter. And that's the greatest irony of all. The moment he finally sees your worth will be the moment you no longer need him to, because that's what real growth looks like. That's what true healing does. It makes you indifferent. And indifference, my friend, is more powerful than any act of revenge you could ever plan. So don't waste another second trying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it. Don't waste another ounce of your energy on someone who is never capable of loving you the way you deserve. Instead, take all of that energy and pour it back into yourself. Invest in your happiness, your goals, your passions. Build a life that is so fulfilling, so exciting, so undeniably amazing that by the time he realizes what he lost, you've already moved so far ahead that looking back isn't even an option. The best payback isn't making him suffer. The best payback is realizing you don't care if he does. You know, there's this moment after a breakup when you finally step back and see things clearly. It's like wiping a fogged up mirror and realizing what's actually been in front of you this whole time. And one of the most freeing realizations you'll ever have is this: he's someone else's problem now. At first, that idea might not bring you much comfort, because right now, maybe you're still caught up in the unfairness of it all. Maybe you're thinking, but why does he get to move on so easily? Why does he get to just carry on with someone new like I never even mattered? And I get it. It's frustrating. It feels like the universe is rewarding bad behavior. Like he played games, hurt you, and now he's off living his best life while you're here still picking up the pieces. But here's what you need to understand. He hasn't changed. The same patterns, the same behaviors, the same toxic cycles, those didn't magically disappear when he walked into his next relationship. And that's where people get it wrong. They see their ex with someone new and assume it means they've been replaced, like they were just a temporary seat filler until the real thing came along. No. What actually happened is that someone else has stepped into the same dynamic that you finally got out of. Someone else is now on the receiving end of the same manipulation, the same mind games, the same emotional unavailability that had you questioning your worth. That's not a reward. That's not an upgrade. That's a sentence. Think about what you dealt with when you were with him. The hot and cold behavior, the uncertainty, the mixed signals that had you doubting your own intuition. Think about the times you sat there trying to decode his messages like there was some kind of riddle, only to realize later that the confusion was the point. He didn't want to be understood. He wanted control. He wanted you to stay invested, to keep giving him your energy, even when he had no real intention of giving you what you deserved in return. And now someone else is sitting in that exact same seat. Someone else is feeling that same sense of unease, that same emotional push and pull. And let me tell you, in the beginning, it might look different. Maybe he's pouring attention into her the way he did with you at first. Maybe he's love bombing her, making her feel like the most special person in the world. Maybe you're seeing pictures of them together and it stings because you remember what that felt like. But what you have to remember is that the beginning of a relationship is never the truth, it's the sales pitch. The real version of him will show up eventually. And when it does, she'll start to feel exactly what you felt. She'll start wondering why he suddenly seems distant. She'll start questioning why she always feels like she has to prove her worth. She'll begin experiencing the same emotional exhaustion that made you question yourself for so long. And that's when she'll realize this isn't love, this is a cycle. And you're free from that cycle. You get to step away from it. You get to rebuild. You get to heal. You get to create a life where you don't have to constantly question whether someone's feelings for you are real. That's your win. See, real love isn't about games. It isn't about confusion. It isn't about someone keeping you in a constant state of anxiety, making you feel like you have to earn their affection. Real love is safe, it's clear, it's consistent. And when you walk away from someone who couldn't give you that, you make space for the person who will. So no, he didn't win. He didn't get away with anything. He's not living some perfect, effortless fairy tale while you're left in the dust. He's repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, and eventually she'll see it too. And by then, you'll be so far ahead, so deeply invested in your own happiness that you won't even care. Real love doesn't involve manipulation. When you're caught up in someone's games, it's easy to believe that love is supposed to feel uncertain, that you have to fight for attention, that mixed signals mean there's something worth decoding. But here's the truth. The right person won't make you guess how they feel. They won't dangle affection in front of you like a prize you have to earn. When someone truly cares, you won't feel the need to analyze every message, every silence, every shift in their energy. Love isn't a puzzle you need to solve. It's something you should recognize effortlessly. If you find yourself constantly questioning where you stand, you're standing in the wrong place. You've been conditioned to think that love has to be dramatic, to be real. That tension, those ups and downs, the chase, those things create an illusion of passion. But let's be honest, is it really passion or is it just stress? You don't need someone who treats your emotions like a toy they can pick up when they're bored and put down when they find something else that excites them. You don't need someone who only shows up when they feel like it, who gives just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to make you feel secure. That's not love. That's manipulation dressed up as excitement. The right person won't keep you waiting. They won't make you question their intentions. They won't make you feel like you're in a competition, constantly trying to prove your worth. Because love, real love, isn't about proving anything. It's about showing up consistently, without games, without tactics, without power struggles. When you stop settling for inconsistency, you open yourself up to something much greater. You stop wasting time on the wrong people and you make space for the right one. But here's where it gets difficult. It requires you to let go of the hope that the wrong person will suddenly turn into the right one. It requires you to stop romanticizing their potential and start accepting their reality. You might think, but what if I walk away and they change? The truth is, if they were capable of being the person you needed, they would have already been that person. You shouldn't have to leave for someone to realize your value. Your worth isn't something that should only be recognized in your absence. The right person will see it in your presence. You deserve someone who communicates openly, who makes you feel safe, who doesn't make you compete for their affection. And when you find that kind of love, you'll realize how exhausting it was to settle for anything less. You'll look back and wonder why you ever tolerated the mind games, the hot and cold behavior, the excuses. You'll wonder why you ever thought love was supposed to feel like uncertainty. When you walk away from the wrong person, you don't just free yourself from their games, you free yourself from the idea that love has to be difficult to be worth it. And that's when you win. That's when you truly move on.